Welcome back to the Anachroschism. When we left off last time, the party had just returned to Harnstead after using the teleportation to get themselves out of Lycidian in a bit of a rush, but a mostly successful endeavor. They've actually found Sophia. She's in tow with the group, and after the stomach drop inducing feeling of going through the teleportation circle for the second time in 24 hours, your vision clears and you see yourselves back in Duchess Mordov's private quarters. And as you just take that just brief moment to collect yourself and, get your bearings, you also see that the Duchess is in the room looking
Naked.
at you.
No.
Yeah. She is a platinum dragon. And the room is full.
I will greet her and thank her for getting us back on such short notice, I guess. Something along those lines.
And she kind of gives you a very, very slight bow, but a little bit of a bow nonetheless, an acknowledgement, which is a lot more than you've really gotten from her to this point. She says, "Of course, it was our arrangement. It seemed proper to do, and I see you were at least somewhat successful." And she's kind of locked eyes with Sophia at this point, who has not locked eyes with her. She is still looking at the ground.
Oh.
Tessian will introduce the Duchess to Sophia. So Sophia, this is... God, do we know her last name? Oh, God, I bet it's in my notes.
We talked about this
I
before.
think we did.
It's whatever Dunas' last name is.
Mm-hmm.
That's just awesome pants.
Whatever that is.
Oh, no. Why would you make me have to do this?
Because if you guys don't keep notes, then who will?
Mordov?
That's the Duchess, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were
That's
saying
what
Sophia's
I
last
wanted to
name.
know.
I see, my bad.
Sophia is... I mean, now I'm just going to have to look for this, too.
What? That's right. The last name. You say it.
The Duchess is Malara Mordov, and her last name is Zamaka.
That's right. Zamaka. It's literally on the same page right above. Literally one line away. Anyway, so... my notes are super handy when you can't read them because you're illiterate. So
Now you know how Karash feels every day.
So Tessian introduces, Duchess Mordov. This is Sophia Zamaka. Sophia. This is the Duchess. He pretty much, she rules the town here of Harnstead. He basically is trying to break the tension. That's basically all he's trying to do.
As you're facilitating this, she being Sophia does kind of shoot a glance up at the Duchess just to get that brief, take her in. Who is this person? Kind of nods, looks back at the floor, and says, "It's nice to meet you." And that's the extent. But it's something. Doesn't seem to be doing well with new people. And again, we've been down this road, but it's been a hell of a couple of years. It's been a hell of a day in particular, and she's a bit overwhelmed. But she does at least acknowledge it. She's trying to be polite. You can see that in there somewhere is a well-raised daughter. It's just at the moment her manners have been left somewhere else with a lot of other things that should have been left behind the last 18 months. The Duchess kind of chimes in. She goes, "Well, she looks maybe a little worse for wear, but she's alive. That has to count for something."
Duchess, can we do something to take care of her? Maybe get her some food, draw a bath, get her out of these clothes, if you don't mind.
She hesitates only briefly, and as she responds, she says, "Well, it's just me here today, but if you would like to use the facilities and assist her with that, I have no problem with that."
I guess I'll take her then and try to figure it out. We're going on an adventure.
Okay. Everybody else?
I can help with that.
It's probably a good idea.
Tessian feels much better about that. Okay.
Yeah, I also have experience doing manual labor and stuff, so I can draw a bath and all that.
It's more like leaving a strange man with a woman in a person's house. It's not polite by any means. Yeah. Well, if that's the case, then Tessian will let Isaac run off and then actually defer to Lena as to what our next steps are here.
Gosh.
Our leader.
Little me. Well, I don't really want to make any major decisions yet without everyone here. I guess I'll just try to make some small talk with the Duchess in the meantime. Kind of tell her about our visit. It's a very large city, very overwhelming. As someone who's from the isolated, someone would just kind of try to make conversation if she's up for it.
She engages a bit. She says, well, I go to Lycidian maybe a half dozen times a year. I find it to be a bit overwhelming myself. I live in a decent-sized city myself, but something about that place is just rather overwhelming, don't you think?
And I nod vigorously and say, yes, I doubt I'll be going back there anytime soon, and honestly, I feel content about that. There's a strange vibe I get from that place.
Well, as a practitioner of magic myself, there's always been something that's felt a bit off about the place. More than just the swarms of people and the overwhelming nature of the scope of the city and its denizens, I find that I just feel unsettled whenever I'm forced to travel there for business or for other natures. I can go there on a whim, and still I find myself doing so very rarely. I do have some news. In the last day, young Derek Rothwell has been by a couple of times. He's still trying to sort out what happened on the streets in the city. Hasn't made huge inroads on it, but he's still working as hard as he can. I also have a present for you.
Oh, well, thank you. So, I'm a little surprised.
She says, not to insult your means of conveyance, but I thought perhaps you could do with a couple of horses from my stable.
Oh, now I'm significantly more excited about this. Horses, you say? That would be lovely. Why, thank you so very much.
Since you went above and beyond the call of duty of what I asked to acquire access to the teleportation circle, I thought it was only fair. I've kept the mules, assuming that's okay. You come out ahead in this arrangement, but
yes,
I can at least get some return on them. And
unacceptable.
Exactly. Let's attack the Duchess.
Those mules are family.
What are the
names?
We
named them and everything. We can't remember what we named them.
Exactly.
We named them and everything.
They're family.
This
but
is why we need to name the horses and think of better, more memorable names this time.
One of them was Cassian, and the other was
Eggshell.
Oh. Yes.
Yes.
No, I think that's right.
Yeah, I think that's right.
We'll have them in the Oscar montage at the end of the year, you know. I will
the mules
remember
that we had for like
you.
3 days.
Yeah, I just have it as Egg, but I think it was Eggshell.
Egg. Its name is Egg.
Little Egg.
Egg.
Was that a reference to the seal? It must have been.
I don't know if anybody knows that except you, and me.
And you.
And I only know it begrudgingly, so.
I think his color was eggshell, and so we were really creative, and we said, hey, let's name him his color.
So speaking of names, I actually don't remember what the name of her butler was. If anybody has that jotted down, I don't.
I feel like we've had this conversation before.
I seem to have had it in my notes, and I cannot find it. I was looking for it even before the session. I could not come up with it.
That's not good because I don't think I have it.
I don't think I have it either.
I thought it started with a G. That's all I got.
Gerald. Let's just call him Gerald.
Gerald Butler.
And Gerald.
Everybody's consulting notes. It's fine.
I don't have it.
Yeah, no.
I don't know what happened to it. That's the weirdest thing.
I have Faust Dryden equals douche. Is that helpful in any shape?
Yeah.
The butler's actually Faust
the butler,
Dryden
Faust Dryden, in disguise. It's like what Jafar does to escape being noticed.
No.
Gerald it is.
I can tell you that Donna Pasilico ran the Emerald Wand Burlesque.
Yes.
I can't tell you the Duchess is.
Well, that's what's important, so.
I took better notes on some days, clearly.
So the Duchess is essentially considering, and she says, like, normally I would have Gerald show you them, but he's not here, and, well, it turns out I'm a bit of a mess without him.
Oh, it's no problem. I can go see them myself. Are they? Where are the stables? And then I kind of look around because I know this house is really big.
Right. And she says, well, if you head outside the manor and kind of go around the main thoroughfare, you'll see them. It won't be too difficult to find.
Perfect. Thank you again. You've been such a help. Thank you. And then I'm gonna bow a little bit and then take my leave to go see the horses and our wagon.
Okay.
Tessie considers going, but before he does, he asks the Duchess, before I take my leave, if you are in need of help around the house, is there anything I could assist you with?
Oh, I wouldn't have you go through the motions of things like that. I can certainly keep for myself for a few hours. It's just, when you're used to having someone at your beck and call, it's a little strange to go without them when they're... I don't know if you've noticed, but he's not the most fleet of foot, and so he doesn't often travel outside the manor, but he had other business to attend to today, and so even just for a short stint sometimes, I find myself wondering what I do without him.
And Tessian is like, yes, good help is indispensable. I hope we weren't interrupting when we arrived. Is there anything, or, did we? We don't mean to intrude.
Oh, no. I was expecting that you might be back within the next couple days. It sounded like your business was relatively urgent, so I made sure to keep any long-term plans on the back burner for the time being. You're not putting me out, let's put it that way, especially since you did me a favor. It's not unreasonable.
Tess says, well, is there any errands we could assist with, perhaps outside the house? Something that could use a fleeter foot?
She says, no, but you did receive a visitor while you were gone.
He looks at her. Is that so?
Yes, there was a young woman here inquiring after you. She seemed frustrated in a friendly way to have followed you here but not found you once arrival.
And Tessian just kind of smiles. He's like, yes, I thought that might happen. Did she say where she went? Or where she was going?
She said that she would wait for a day or two at the inn and see if you returned, and if not, she would move on. So I suspect you may find her there.
Tessie nods. He's like, well, thank you very much. And he's like, I think I'm going to check on the others, make sure everything's fine. And he's going to actually go make sure Isaac and Grail haven't, burned the house down or anything crazy.
Which they have.
I mean, yeah, that's...
You look around you and all the
accurate.
walls are aflame.
And the Duchess is just sitting there at a table, and she's like, this is fine.
This is fine. Karash. And he's gone and is muted. Well, it's the triple
God
threat.
damn it.
Gone
Why would
and
he do
muted.
this? Why would he do this?
Gonna wander out with the with Lena for the horses.
Okay. Isaac and Grail, despite the fact there's a myriad of rooms, even on the second floor here where the teleportation circle was inside her private chambers, you are very able to quickly find a pretty lavish bath made out of fine ivory, and there's a variety of good bath salts and shampoos and soaps in there.
And I'm just
Yeah.
whatever.
It's essentially almost a foreign language to you.
With every task completed, it looks like I'm vying for custody of my kids. I'm doing everything just very meticulously. I'm very proud of every action, from gathering the towels to drawing the water, checking the temperature. Very satisfied with how I'm doing. And I keep checking in with Sophia, making sure. How does this look? Is this a good temperature? Are you hungry?
She says, I'm doing okay on food for now since you were able to get me some, but the bath does feel nice. And she's kind of looking at you expectantly.
Yeah, well, so we got this. All right, I think that's good. I'll be just right outside, so call if you need anything, and Grail and I will be right here. Right, Grail?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, right outside. Right here. And as I'm closing the door, it's we're right on the other side. And then I close it.
And at that point, she doesn't seem to mind Grail. She finally goes ahead and gets in the bath. And Grail, you can see there's just like this refreshed sense to it all. Like, she doesn't seem like she was dirty, so she has to have bathed at some point in this span. It's not like it was completely an unfamiliar concept, but it also seems like the opportunity to soak in one, as opposed to it just being utilitarian and like in and out, appears to be something that she's kind of relishing in a bit.
Now, I have to ask, is Grail inside of the bathroom while she's in the bath? Okay, I obviously wanted to leave.
No, you were leaving
with
but like,
me.
Yeah, well, I was going to, but it sounds like when you were on your way out, and it was kind of like in between that she was just like, I'm an undress. Like,
all right,
we're both chicks. It's fine.
Yeah. Clearly, even if she has some, I will say shame is kind of a strong word, but like whatever hesitance she might have about that is outweighed by the eagerness to take an actual bath once Isaac was gone.
Yeah. Okay. So I think if I like recognize the kind of like look on her face, I think I'm gonna just kind of edge towards the door and be like, would you like to be alone?
And you can hear her kind of give like a deep exhale, kind of like a unwinding, kind of like a and she says, it's fine if you stay.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead.
She's hesitating even in between sentences, but she goes, I haven't had a lot of people to talk to.
Okay. I'm going to quickly just like peek around the side of the door and say, I'm gonna sit with her and talk to her. I say that very quietly. Not that she like can't hear me. It's like it's a secret thing.
Perception
but like
check.
I just want to let
19.
Isaac know.
I'm sitting on the floor with my back against the wall, and okay, understood. I'm happy.
Okay.
I'm happy that she's like reaching out, that she wants to talk to people. This is great news.
Yeah.
Is conveyed in my look.
Cool. So I close the door and I kind of like sit down. I don't know how this bathroom is laid out, but I'm gonna sit down next to the tub, I guess.
Okay. And despite the fact that she seemed interested in conversation, she doesn't really lead much. She's still just kind of sitting there quietly soaking this in. But she also doesn't seem put off by your presence.
Yeah, I'm actually not going to just start talking to her. I'm going to let her kind of have this for like 5 or so minutes, just kind of like sit in silence and see if she wants to reach out. But if she doesn't, which you can let me know if she doesn't after 5 minutes.
Okay. Isaac, from your spot in the hallway, the Duchess eventually approaches, and still that very upright posture and very formal, elegant look to her. She has a towel over one arm and what appears to be some kind of garment under the other, and she hands them both to you, and she says, I don't know that I'll have much that fits her properly, but this is at least something better than what she had on. It's about the smallest I have.
We're grateful, and like you said, it's anything we can provide is better than what she's coming from. So I suppose the next task is to try to locate her father. I don't even know where to start there. We gave him word to get out of town, which is good, but of course that means I don't love our chances of locating him either, at least if he's doing it right.
And she thinks for a moment. She says, well, I have the means to send messages over distances. If you can describe something about him, where he lives, where he's located, his name, the more details I have, the easier it may be to have a connection.
I'll tell her the main things. Name, where he lives, occupation. Not super, like, more details than she needs, though.
Okay. And she says, well, I will attempt it, and I'll let you know how it goes.
Thank you.
And she heads back to her chambers. Lena, Karash, and Tessian not too far behind. As you head around the manor, still gate wide open, even with Gerald gone for the day. That even without that line of defense, as it were, the gates are still open, and the Duchess does not seem to care about the security of her gates. But as you walk out, you can see the gates that are open in the front, and you head back to the left around the nice gardens on the exterior, and you can quickly see a pretty nice and well-kept stables on the east side of the building. that do indeed have a couple of horses with their reins kind of wrapped around posts. There is a lighter brown one with black hair, and also a dark brown one with what almost looks like strawberry blonde hair. It's very striking because it's like brighter than the color of its mane itself.
Ah, I'm really excited. I go over and start like stroking their necks right away and kind of just gently talking to them, you know, and trying to make a connection. And I'll be brainstorming names.
So, what's up?
I was gonna ask, is it normal to name horses as well?
Yes, you can name any animals that you would like.
But what if you have to eat them?
And I hesitate and I say, well, yes, probably not animals that you eat. Naming them would just be sad, but other animals, it's fine. I'd like to name these two as well.
Horse is not a name?
Well, it's more of what they are, not so much like a endearing name or title, if that makes sense.
I don't understand the tradition of it, but
It's okay.
we do not keep pets.
You don't?
No. If we have an animal, it is most likely for food.
And I nod, and I ask, so what was life like on the islands where you came from?
My life was wonderful. I went fishing. I helped my neighbor with his garden. I spent time with the neighbor children, teaching them how to fish. I'm very good at fishing.
Yes.
And Tessie, this is about the point where you catch up with him.
Doop. Which one has strawberry hair?
The dark brown one.
Dark brown.
Dark brown, strawberry hair, strawberry blonde,
Gotta
Light
make sure we
brown.
get these names this time, damn
black
it.
hair. And it should be noted that whereas the mules you kind of had to get to warm up to you, although it didn't take much time, Lena. You were pretty good with them. These horses appear to be very receptive. Like, you can tell just from you're familiar with horses almost as much as any other animal, and these appear to be well trained, well groomed. Like they've clearly been kept in exquisite fashion.
That is awesome.
Tessin just asks, well, how are the horses?
They look very well kept and trained. I think they'll be suitable steeds for us.
It's not. I expect nothing less of the Duchess. And he's like, well, I suppose I should check on our... God, was it a cart? A wagon? Cart? A cart.
Yeah, a wagon, something.
I suppose I should check on everything we left here, ensure everything's in order. I don't doubt the Duchess's security, but you never know.
I nod. And then, oh my god, sorry. I don't know what happened to my voice. And then I'll probably follow after maybe a few more seconds of just, like, doting on the horses.
Well, luckily you don't have to, because Tessian, you can find on kind of the far side of the stables, the wagon is kind of like just outside the building that houses the horses. And a quick look through, it does appear that everything that you did not take with you on the journey is still in the wagon intact. So, no thieves the last 24 hours. Things appear on the up and up.
Good. Tessian's like, well, should we hook them up now or later? I'm not sure if we've discussed what our plans are after this.
I don't think we have. I wouldn't mind waiting to talk with everyone first and seeing what the best course of action is with Sophia with us. We want to make sure we do what's best for her and, reunite her with her father, however we go about doing that. I think we need, it's something we need to discuss.
Is there a way to get a message to him?
Tessian, it's like, yes, there's numerous ways. there's, we could always try to send messengers out. That's, of course, got its own risks. There's magical means of doing it as well. I assume Tessian knows this.
Yep.
Tessian's like, although I am not capable of doing it myself, although I do suppose the Duchess might be capable of such a thing. And that's probably about as much as he thinks.
That would be very nice.
So I suppose we could ask her.
Yes, maybe we should. That should be our next course of action.
Sure.
Yes.
Tessie's like, I would like to try to resolve things here as quickly as possible. I do believe Thea's in town, and I'd like to catch up with her before she goes looking for me someplace that I am not.
Oh, well, is she... Do you know if she's here now?
Tessie's like, well, the Duchess was under the impression she was at the inn, but we should settle our business here before we go running off.
And I nod.
Grail. There's a good 2-3 minutes of not extremely awkward silence, but there's just this kind of poignant pause hanging in the room. But eventually you hear, even quieter than her usual voice has been since you've encountered her. So you're adventurers then, you and your group?
I look over to her and I say, yes, we are. I didn't know that my life would be one of the adventuring type until just recently, but it's a good trustworthy group we got. It's a work in progress. I don't know if I kind of laugh and I say, I don't know if you noticed, but we're all very new to each other, but they all have good hearts. I can feel it.
She's quiet again for another 30 seconds, just seemingly thinking on this information. And she says, do you like it? Traveling?
I take a second to actually think about this. I say, well, to be honest, initially my traveling was out of necessity. I was looking for someone very close to me, my brother. And before that, I was traveling to help my family. So I didn't really think about traveling as something fun or exciting. But the more that I think about it, the more that I do, the more I very much enjoy it. I grew up in this tiny ranch, the nearest town, a few days away if you take it slow. And I'd never seen the world before. And there's a lot more to it than I thought. And it's kind of exciting, yeah.
There's another 10-15 second pause, and she says, has it been dangerous?
It has. It's not easy. I mean, you know firsthand that the world is a dangerous place, and you're far too young to have experienced what you did, but we're trying to make the world a better place, get rid of the people who are in power, who are doing these things. It just... it sickens me to see that in the world, and it is dangerous, but we're doing our best to try and make it as safe as possible for people like you.
There's another similar pause. It doesn't seem like she's slow. Again, it's just like she's not sure how much she wants to approach, or she's hesitant, but she says, I had never been outside of Lycidian much. A few times. My father always spoke to how dangerous the world outside could be. But then the world inside got dangerous, and I'm starting to think I need to do something to make sure this doesn't happen again.
To that, I tilt my head, and I ask her, I try to be as careful in how I phrase this. What do you mean?
I just want to make sure I can protect myself if something like this were to come up again. I was younger then, but even so, I felt powerless, and I didn't like that feeling.
I nod, and I say, I know that feeling very well. When my family lost their ranch to fire, I felt very powerless, and I didn't know what to do, how to help them best. And that's actually why I ended up leaving. I thought I would stay on that ranch my entire life. But I knew that that wasn't a possibility anymore. I had to go out and protect myself and protect my family. I think that's very commendable. What, may I ask, what you're planning on doing?
This is back to a longer pause, but she says, I don't know. I need to be reunited with my father first. And then, this is not a question I've been asked all that often. Maybe because I'm so young, but I haven't really considered it. I don't know where I'd like to go in particular. Just the life of an adventurer seems interesting to some extent.
And I smile and nod, and I kind of like reach into my my bag kind of behind me. I pull out my lockpick, and I tell her, I'm like, well, I could teach you some tricks of the trade if you would like.
And she perks up a little bit at this. She is interested to a pretty heavy extent, and at a certain point she even kind of remarks under her breath, she's like, these would have been useful. This would have been a useful thing to know.
Absolutely. You couldn't have known, Sophia. I don't want you to think that I'm in any way blaming you for what happened. But in the future, I think these skills are extremely valuable. I don't discredit that at all, and your willingness to want to learn.
I would very much like to be taught this.
You can count on me. I can help.
And she kind of sinks down further into the bathtub to where, like, just maybe most of her face and some of the top of her head is exposed, and the rest of her is submerged.
That's cute.
Isaac, you can hear little bits and pieces of this from the doorway, but you also, after a few minutes more pass, see the Duchess approaching again. And she's shaking her head. She says, I reached out. There was no response. And this messaging ability has the ability to travel across planes of existence. So if he were somewhere, he should have been able to receive the message, which means there's either a magical element at play or something worse.
And I just hit my head on the and gather myself for a second, and I say, is there a location element to your messaging? You're sending the message. Does that mean you can discern where he is?
And she says, it's more meant to communicate words, although if I can have a connection with someone, they could describe their location to me. You essentially get a few short sentences as a give and take with them, and can even repeat the exercise if necessary, but in this case, without being able to establish a connection, I have no idea where he might be.
Well, I was afraid of this. Is there a chance he has already received the message from Cavis and has taken measures that he needs to create, using magical means that would prevent you from sensing him, but also maybe other people who would look to do him harm?
She says, I don't know if he had magical capabilities or what he had at his disposal, but there's also the chance he could be asleep. I mean, there are many reasons why it might not go through, but some of those I would still at least get a sense of that, and this one feels worse than that.
If you had to guess, would you say he's dead?
Her eyes kind of widen at this because she doesn't really know the background of who this dude is or what's going on, and she says, I certainly hope not, if it's someone you need to get a hold of, but I can't deny it's possible.
All right, well, thank you for trying. And I'm just thinking now, so I tell her thanks and not going to say anything more yet.
Okay. She says, I'll go scrounge up some food for the girl.
Thank you.
Have her come downstairs when she's finished. Have her take her time, though. There's no rush. And she heads down the hallway, going back to the main stairwell that goes back to the first floor. It's been about maybe another 10, 15 minutes of conversation, Grail. She seems most interested in just your impressions of the other group members and what your favorite thing you saw on the trip was. And, you know, she just kind of wants more details about this whole more exciting life. If anything, it's like this exact opposite correlation to what she's been doing, which is jack all, stuck in one place for a long time. So the idea of somebody who can wander about seems especially, you know, mythological in nature of almost. But eventually, as the water has pretty much lost its temperature by this point, she decides that she's finally had enough of the bath. And she starts to look around for like a towel or something and doesn't see one nearby.
So is there one in the bathroom at all that I can grab for her?
There is not, no.
Okay. I'll kind of like hop up and say, stay right there. I'll be back with the towel for you. And I leave. I kind of like quickly like open the door and close it. And I'm guessing I see Isaac in the hallway.
You'll see me with a towel in hand. So
Yeah.
there's that. But I don't really seem to notice you all that much. I'm kind of lost in thought.
Okay. Wait, so do you have a towel or no?
I do have the towel, and you would see it, but I'm not
So I reach my hand out, I'd like expectantly, like, give it to me, but it doesn't seem like you even like see that I'm there. So I say, Isaac.
And I like, yes.
And I pause and I look at you for a few more seconds and I say, what happened?
Better left for the group. I'll tell you later.
Okay. And then I kind of like shake my head and shut my eyes and I say, oh, Sophia needs the towel.
I'm like, oh, right. Like I forgot I had it, and then I hand it up. Still on the floor, still sitting.
Yeah.
Probably looking a little pale.
Mm-hmm. And I think I would notice this. You do seem really off. So I notice, but I don't push you. And I kind of just like slowly take the towel out of your hands, all the while just kind of like not staring you down like threateningly, but just observing, like trying to see if I can, figure out what's happening. But
well, and I ask, kind of like again to break the trance. I say, how is she doing?
And I offer like a small smile and say, I think she's doing a little bit better. We were talking. She seems honestly pretty lively for what she's gone through. I'm impressed. Good.
I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad we didn't wait to try to find her.
I agree. I'm happy she's safe. And I kind of like, I can complete the transaction of towel to me. And I kind of like put it like against my chest a little bit and just like stand there in the hallway for a second, like still looking at Isaac to see if he's going to offer me anything. But I'm just going to go back in and before I leave, I'll say, we should be out soon.
I tell her when, blah, 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 blah. I don't tell her. I actually say, when you're ready, take her down to the kitchen. The Duchess is preparing her some food, and then meet us in. God, I don't know where. Did we talk about where we're gonna meet after this? I would assume you guys are coming back to the main hall, to where we've been meeting before. So I tell her that, and then we leave. And then I leave.
Well, before that, you also have clothes that I'm gonna like see.
I would have given those to you as well.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'll go back in the bathroom and offer Sophia a towel and say, we got you some fresh clothes too, looks like.
And she seems pleased by this as well. Takes the towel, dries off. The robe is indeed too big, but not terribly so. I mean, the Duchess is relatively tall, and Sophia is about average height for a girl of her age, which is already a little below average compared to most people. So she swims in it a little bit, but not terribly so, and it does provide adequate coverage. There's also like slippers of a sort that go with it, so it's something soft for her feet. She seems relatively happy with the whole thing.
I'm just gonna say, those are some mighty fine silks you got there. I kind of like laugh and say, it looks good.
And she's like, it's very soft. I've never really worn anything like this before. Is this what high society is like?
I wouldn't know, but I think so.
Well, it's a sight better than the makeshift stuff they had me wearing.
Oh, no doubt about it. I'm so glad that you're here and you're safe now.
Well, I don't even know if in all the hustle and bustle I said it before, but thank you. And this is the one time she's actually looking you in the eye over the course of this.
I love her. I love her. And I meet her gaze and I say, no apology. No, it's not necessary. No apology.
Don't say you're sorry.
Don't say you're sorry.
Are you sorry?
No thanks necessary is what I meant to say. Sorry. We were, especially Isaac, the man outside, he's insistent that you be found. And we're just happy you're safe and in one piece.
Despite that momentary burst of courage, Gaze returns to the floor, and she says, so what's next?
That's a good question. I actually have no idea. I mean, I know we intend to reunite you with your father. That is our goal. That's all I know, though. It's more complicated than that, as I'm sure you're at least somewhat aware. It's a very, very touchy matter and dangerous at that with your father. And so we're going to do the best we can to ensure that both of you are reunited safely. So I think we're supposed to meet downstairs and we're going to discuss our options.
And she just kind of nods and she says, okay.
And I kind of smile and say, and I'll be by your side all this time, okay?
And as you guys start to leave this room, she kind of slips her hand into yours.
I was hoping she would. I love her.
And you guys
Cute.
make your way downstairs. Outside group with horses. Was your intention to head back to the main hall as well? Are we rendezvousing here for story expediency? Is that?
I think so. Well, I think we're going to try to find the Duchess, but the conversation is going to be real quick because it's going to be like, Duchess, is it possible for you to use a sending spell to contact someone? And she's going to go, actually, yes, I did just do that. And I don't know if she tells us what she found out. And then we are either automatically on board or know what happens or we hear it soon. I don't know.
My suspicion is with the timing elements of this, you'd probably be running into Isaac as he heads back towards the main hall, even before you get to the Duchess, and she's off in a side room. So as you guys complete your inspection of the horses and make sure the cart's okay, and you head back inside, you see Isaac coming down that main staircase that kind of went up and then split off into a T to get to the upper floor.
Tessie will ask Isaac. Isaac, have you seen the Duchess? We wanted to ask her something.
Yes, I have. I don't remember where she was going. What did you want to ask her?
Well, we were hoping she could use a sending spell of some sort to try to contact.
Yeah, to which I say, let's gather in the meeting hall. We all need to talk about our next steps.
Okay.
we gather.
It only takes maybe another minute or so, and then Grail and Sophia also come down the staircase, and Grail, you can lead her past the group momentarily, down the hall a little bit further, and inside what is a very lavish kitchen with like all sorts of fresh fruits and vegetables and more cabinets than you can count and wide cooking surfaces. Like we're talking like, this is a Gordon Ramsay approved kitchen, not just your run-of-the-mill random one. You see the Duchess in there fiddling about with things, and the quick sense you can get is she's not useless when it comes to this stuff, but she's almost more childlike than you'd expect from someone of her grace and nobility. She clearly has a vague idea what she's doing, but not a very strong one. But as she hears you guys come into the room, she turns and she says, yes, my apologies. I don't know that this is going to be the most exciting offering, but hopefully it will be serviceable at least.
Oh, no, this looks great. Thank you.
And Sophia also, without raising her eyes, says, Yes, thank you. So it
All
takes
right.
a little bit longer, but the Duchess has a plate of food made up for her. There's a table in there as well, and she offers to sit with the girl. And then I assume you head back out.
Yeah. I will tell Sophia that I'll just be like down the hall, kind of a thing, just to let her know that I'm not abandoning her.
Okay.
With this scary, beautiful, powerful Duchess.
And as you're kind of heading out, you can hear the Duchess sort of trying to make small talk. Even in the limited snippet that you get, it's friendly. It's not like she's trying. It's just she's not really sure how to approach it. But she gets a couple words out of Sophia, and it seems like it's going about as well as you would expect.
Yeah.
And you're able to meet with the others in a kind of a side room that has its own little set of like table and chairs in it that has a door that can be closed if you wish. And the whole group is together.
So I will give the abridged version of what happened, and that it could mean a variety of things. It could be he's sleeping, which I was like, oh, it could just mean that. That's actually not bad at all. But I just say this is where we're at. We can ask her to try it again to be sure, but it's not looking great from what we know. All of that's introduced, so I suppose we need to talk about next steps, and if they got to Dunask, what's best for Sophia?
Tessian points out the obvious. Well, she's safe here, at least as far as we're aware. The Duchess is a little out of her element without the help, but I don't think she would do Sophia any harm, and there's probably no place safer in the, the region.
I would hate to, for a child like this, to abandon her again. I would like to avoid that if possible, but what's our alternative? Take her on our dangerous journey of this, of the trials? We can't do that.
I don't think we can either. And I kind of like perk up and say she has expressed interest in adventuring, but we can't take her.
It would be too dangerous.
Tessie does cock his head. He's just like, we can. At the very least, I do think she should have some say in what we do with her next. It is her life, after all. And if your suspicions are correct, Isaac, she's going to be going at this alone from that here on. She needs to have some semblance of control on this step.
Tessian, I agree, actually. I was going to say...
Mark it down, folks.
No matter what we decide, I think she should have an opinion, and if she wants to go, I don't know that that's what we do, but I feel like she at least should voice her opinion. How do I do this? I just want to make sure if we leave her and she is committed to not staying, I'm afraid she's better with us than without us, going off on her own. And I say this deliberately, and I look at Grail.
No, I agree with that. I don't think we can force her to stay here if she doesn't want to. I think all of this can be sorted rather easily once we ask her. She's got her wits about her. She's a smart girl.
Another option. Sorry, Karash. Another option is our house. It's out of the way at this point, but maybe what's her fucking face?
Reeve.
Reeve?
Reeve.
That's not her name. The Dragonborn in the house.
Did I stutter?
I think that is her name.
Is it?
Yeah.
I really didn't think it was. I thought it was something silly sounding. Anyways, I will say maybe she wants some company.
It's not, by the way.
Oh, David.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Motherfucker. Stay there.
It's fine. It's just his kin. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. One of them is the person I've sworn to kill. The other one.
I was like, Bereave. Huh. Sounds like a villain's name. Anyways.
It sounds like B. Reeve. Isn't that weird how the name works out?
So I said,
Reeve it.
maybe Debeth would like some company.
That is true.
Well, I think we should offer these options. If Debeth is, we think she wouldn't be opposed.
I can't imagine she would be, but should we not find out if her father is still at his home?
We should, but if he... Based on what the Duchess has said, if we cannot get a hold of him, it's very unlikely he's in his home. If he's not in his home, I don't know where we could even start looking. That's more of a needle in the haystack than it was to find Sophia in the first place.
Tessian mumbles something about how that hasn't stopped us before, but keeps it to himself.
I'm just having like a weird, I don't know, Happy Gilmore of him. I'm like, don't you know where your home is? Like, that's what
Are you too good for your home?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So-
This is like the only thing that's playing in my head right now.
Michelle is locked into character.
Yes.
So I say, I mean, I suppose while we're here, we can ask Sophia what she thinks. We'll come to a decision, but following that, I feel like a direction is clear that we're going to try the first trial of the Conatus. I think we're all in agreement, but does anyone have any reason why we wouldn't?
Tessian shakes his head and gives Lena a firm nod, like, fucking finally.
Yep.
And I take a moment to just like smile at everyone and just seem kind of happy that we're all in this together kind of thing.
Okay, then I will spin a little bit. I'll go get the Duchess and Sophia, and we'll have a chat.
Okay. Heading over to the kitchen then?
I'll go get her and bring her, unless we're all going to the kitchen. But I just said I'll get her and bring her. So that's where I'm going.
I mean, we can. It's fine. We'll hang around.
Okay.
All right. There goes Mike. He's in freeze frame. Okay, it's fixed.
Oh.
Good. Do. All right. So Isaac, you head over. At this point, when you come back into the kitchen, even though it's only been 6 or 7 minutes that you guys were talking in the room, the Duchess has actually managed to coax some conversation out of Sophia as well. And whether that's because of Grail's earlier efforts that you don't really know about, but still, like, you're not entirely sure. But this is as talkative as you've seen her, which is still not extremely talkative, but she's giving answers to some of the Duchess's questions as she kind of tries to coax them out of her. And they both look up at you as you enter the room.
I'm going to do my best to not appear defeated and say the group is talking about next steps, and we want to make sure that any decision we make, Sophia, you're involved. And whenever you're done eating, please join us, and we can figure it all out.
And there's not a lot of food left on her plate. She seems to have been going through this at a pretty quick pace as well. Even though she had some food earlier, she still seems quite enthused by the prospect of eating. So it only takes a few more seconds for her to finish off the last of it, and she finally kind of pushes away from the table. She actually looks at the Duchess briefly. She says, "Thank you." And then she goes to follow you out of the room. The Duchess kind of looks at you on the way, and she says, "Will you be needing me for this conversation?"
I don't think it hurts. We might want to try another message to just confirm. The more we send, the more we can figure out, narrow down what the obstacles were. So if you're open to that, we would love to have you.
She says, very well, and she props herself up on her staff, pushes up from the table, and very lithely starts to follow behind you as well. So the rest of you see a couple moments pass, and Isaac comes back into the room with Sophia, and eventually the Duchess herself in tow.
How is she around me? Just in that walk, well, depending on how she is, I would try to talk to her or not. If she is still looking at the ground when she's around me, I'll probably just leave it.
She seems to have softened a little bit, but she still didn't give you eye contact. Other than when you directly said her name, she kind of looked up at you briefly. But the nice thing about it is you didn't have to worry as much about masking your true feelings as you thought, because she's really not picking up on it either. She's mostly still locked down on the floor. But if you did try and make inroads in conversation, she would at least give you short responses, which is a step up from where we were before.
How was the food?
It was good, thank you.
Good. I'm surprised with the Duchess making it. I was a little bit afraid you were going to get naught but burnt toast.
And the Duchess, who is not too far behind, says, I heard that, you know.
Yeah. And is there any play at all, like, from the bad attempt at a joke from Sophia?
She doesn't laugh or anything. But she does.
No one laughs, actually.
Yeah, no one laughs in a 12-mile radius. But she does say, well, the Duchess did say to keep my expectations low, but she, I think, cleared them very well. And she says, yes, I managed to do decently. It's a badge of honor for me at this point. I'm quite a bit rusty.
You might have a future ahead of you, maybe as a chef, Duchess.
Well, I've had to make sure I keep up on at least some of my skills. You never know with Gerald.
Maybe him leaving was the best thing that's ever happened to you.
And you can see her kind of like, she gives this kind of tired look. She's like, believe me, that is not the case.